It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Well, hello there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm your host, Kelly Hint, Queen Bee of this hive, and today we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart, and I know it's close to yours too. Women in leadership, breaking the glass ceiling. All right, first things first, can we all just take a moment to celebrate the fact that Kamala Harris is seeking the Democratic nomination for president again? Yes, you heard it right. Kamala Harris, the first woman, the first black woman, and the first person of South Asian descent to be vice president of the United States, is ready to make history again. No matter what your political views are, I think it's cool as hell to see women going for male-dominated positions, especially positions that have never before been occupied by a woman. Talk about shattering that glass ceiling. Now, I recognize that this may be old news by the time you're listening to this podcast, but it's not old news to me right now as I'm recording it, and I'm really, really excited. And it's not, again, like it has nothing to do with political affiliation for me. I'm just simply taking a moment to celebrate a woman going after it. That's all I'm doing here in this moment. So please keep tuning in. I'm not going to try and convince you to vote a certain way. So let's talk about that glass ceiling and the challenges that women have faced and are still facing in obtaining leadership positions. Ladies, grab your drink of choice, sit back, and let's get into it. So, what exactly is the glass ceiling? It's this invisible barrier that keeps women from reaching the top positions in their careers, no matter how qualified or deserving they are. It's like being stuck in an elevator that won't go past the middle floors while watching your male counterparts zoom up to the penthouse suite. Frustrating, right? Now, historically, women have been told that they're too emotional to lead, that they can't balance work and family, or that they're simply not as competent as men. This is the kind of nonsense that has been holding us back for centuries. But guess what? We are not having it anymore. I think I may have shared in a prior episode when talking about sexism that I was part of this. Like, I grew up in a generation where I was told as a woman, as a little girl, that women can't be president because they're too emotional. Women can't be president because they can't make the tough decisions. Women can't be president because they're too soft, because they wouldn't be able to send troops into war if need be. And I believed it. I'm so incredibly embarrassed for my childhood self, although I shouldn't be because I was a kid, right? But still, it breaks my heart to think of that little girl inside of me that believed all of this BS. But like I said, we're not having it anymore. Generation X, of which I am part of, we're done with the BS. We're absolutely done with it, and we have joined the fight to fight the oppression, not just of women, but of the oppressed. And so I want to bring it back to women. Women like Kamala Harris, Mary Barra, who's the CEO of General Motors, and, well, hell, let's face it, Oprah Winfrey. They have all shown us that we can break through those barriers. They have faced doubts. They've faced sexism. And they've had to deal with the naysayers, and they have come out on top. These women are not just leaders, they are trailblazers, and they are paving the way for all of us. We need to keep fighting. We need to keep going. But honestly, let's get real about the challenges that we still face. The pay gap is very much alive, with women on average earning less than men for the same work. There's also the motherhood penalty, where women are judged and penalized in their careers for having children. And don't get me started on the lack of mentorship and support that can make climbing the corporate ladder feel like scaling Everest in heels. And another significant challenge is the unfair and inappropriate criticism that women in leadership face. Women are often held to higher and different standards than their male counterparts. They are judged more harshly for their decisions, appearance, and even the tone of voice. Kamala Harris, for example, has faced a barrage of sexist and racist attacks throughout her career. Critics have commented on everything from her choice of clothing to her laugh, calling it unpresidential and inappropriate. During the 2020 presidential campaign, she was often described as too ambitious, a term rarely used to criticize men in politics. Her questioning style during the Senate hearings was labeled as aggressive and hostile, while similar behavior from male senators was seen as strong and assertive. And if you've been paying attention, this isn't the first time that this has happened. Let's talk about some of the sexism that Hillary Clinton faced during her presidential campaigns. And again, please put aside your political views for one moment and just try to look at this as from the point of a woman, whether you are a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or don't identify with any of it. Please just try to see it from the female perspective and what I'm trying to say as far as the glass ceiling and sexism. So Hillary Clinton's appearance was frequently scrutinized in ways that male candidates were not subjected to. From her hairstyle to her clothing choices, there was a disproportionate focus on her looks rather than her policies or qualifications. She was often criticized for wearing pantsuits and even for not wearing makeup on certain occasions. You know, stuff that guys don't have to be criticized for. And then there were the accusations of being unlikable. Hillary Clinton was often labeled as unlikable, and that's a criticism that is rarely applied to male politicians. This criticism was rooted in gender stereotypes that expect women to be warm and nurturing. And when women in leadership roles don't fit these stereotypes, they are often unfairly judged. And also, like Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton's voice and tone were frequently criticized as being too loud, shrill, or harsh. This type of criticism taps into sexist stereotypes that women should be soft-spoken and demure, while men who are assertive and forceful are seen as strong leaders. And then Hillary Clinton was often portrayed as overly emotional or hysterical, especially when she displayed passion or anger. That's one of my huge pet peeves. Because this double standard suggests that while men can show strong emotions and be seen as decisive and passionate, women are penalized for the exact same behavior and labeled as unstable or unfit for leadership. And then again, similar to Kamala Harris, during her campaigns, Hillary Clinton was often criticized for being too ambitious, a trait that is typically seen as positive for men. This reflects a broader societal discomfort with women who openly pursue power in leadership roles. And then how about the personal attacks and conspiracy theories? Clinton was the target of numerous personal attacks and conspiracy theories that were often rooted in misogyny. From unfounded rumors about her health to baseless accusations of criminal activity, these attacks were designed to undermine her credibility and distract from her policy positions. And then how about the double standards during the debates? So Hillary Clinton was held to a different standard than her male counterparts during debates. She had to be assertive without being perceived as aggressive, knowledgeable without appearing condescending, and firm without being seen as unlikable. This tightrope walk is a challenge that many women in leadership face. So these handful of examples highlight the pervasive sexism that Clinton encountered, reflecting the broader challenges that women face when they seek leadership positions. Despite these obstacles, Clinton's campaigns paved the way for future female candidates and sparked important conversations about gender equality in politics. But as we are seeing now with Kamala Harris's campaign, it's all coming back. The same story is being retold over and over. We're going to attack strong women on things that are absolutely irrelevant to what we're talking about politically. And I'm sorry, but this kind of scrutiny isn't just unfair, it is exhausting. It forces women to navigate a minefield of double standards where they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they're tough, they're seen as unlikable. If they're compassionate, they're seen as weak. It is a no-win situation, but one that we are learning to navigate and overcome. So watch out, men, because here we come. But I will say, despite these challenges, we are making strides. The Me Too movement has sparked a global conversation about workplace harassment and the need for safe, equitable work environments. More companies are recognizing the value of diversity and inclusion and are actively working to promote women into leadership roles. But we can't just sit back and wait for change to happen. We have to be the change makers. And let's talk about some ways that we can all contribute to breaking the glass ceiling. The first piece of this is, for crying out loud, to support each other. Lift other women up, whether it's mentoring, sharing opportunities, or just being a sounding board. Let's create a sisterhood of support. And then we have to speak up. Do not be afraid to voice your ideas, advocate for yourself, and call out unfair practices. Your voice matters, and it can drive change. And then we have to educate and empower. Stay informed about your rights and the resources available to you. Knowledge is power, and when we're equipped with the right tools, we can achieve anything. And then we can use that education to educate other women and empower other women. And let's not forget to challenge the status quo. Do not accept things as they are just because that's how they've always been. Push for policies and practices that promote equality and fairness. And the therapist in me cannot go an episode without saying this, apparently. But let's talk about self-care. This journey is tough, and it is so easy to burn out. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. A strong leader is a balanced leader. And again, I want to reiterate this. This episode is not about trying to say that I endorse any politician or I'm not trying to sway anyone. I'm simply taking the most powerful position in the United States and using it as an example of how there is still a glass ceiling that women run into. And it just happens to be that, Kamala Harris is running for president again. And I don't care how you feel about politics. I just want you to look at the sexism for what it is and call it out when you're having discussions with people. Even if you agree, like if you're talking about policies, right? And for example, if you want to talk about the border, if you're talking about issues that we're having at the border and somebody brings up that Kamala Harris like screwed the pooch when it comes to border policy. Okay, that's a valid issue to talk about, and you can agree or disagree with that person. That's fine. I'm not talking about stuff like that. Please, we need to hold our politicians accountable because they say a lot of stuff and don't do a lot of stuff that they're supposed to do. So please, please, please hold politicians accountable. However, what I'm talking about is if you're having a conversation with somebody, even if you agree with everything they're saying, like the border, for example, if you totally agree with what they're saying, and then they start saying things like, well, and Kamala, I'm sorry, they usually mispronounce her name. They call her Kamala, or they call her worse things. And there are times when I think people do it on purpose, but whatever. So when you're having this discussion with someone and they start trashing her appearance or saying, and she laughs funny and blah, 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 and this and that, that's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff we need to call out. That's when you say things like, well, you know what? I don't think that her laugh has anything to do with her policy on the border. Just like with Joe Biden or Donald Trump, we may have feelings about them personally and about their personality. And if all we're going to do is talk about how they're geriatric old men and, this one does this with his face and this one does that with his face, how is that an intelligent conversation? Sure, if you want to trash talk and be bitey and make fun of people, whatever, okay, that's who you are, you do you. But if you want to have an intelligent conversation, let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about the actual issues. So again, I just think when it comes to arguments and it comes to constructive, intelligent arguments, a lot of people are not equipped, because I see a lot of arguments online and it just seems like it's a bunch of stupid people with no brains just bitching about stuff. And I don't have time for that. Especially like when we're talking about important things and who our next president of the United States is. I'm sorry, but to me, that's kind of important, especially as a woman, as I watch women's rights be removed. Again, I've been on this earth for 50 years and I've seen things get better and I've seen things get worse, and I'm going to speak out against all that. And I don't have time for the pettiness. I want to talk about the real things. I want to push aside all of the nonsense to get at the real issues. And for me, today in this episode, the real issue is the glass ceiling that women have to constantly try and shatter, because it's BS. There's no reason that sexism should have a part in any of this. Just like there's no reason that racism should play a part in our decision making. And who knows, maybe that's a teaser for what I will be discussing next week. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this. The glass ceiling is not unbreakable. It's strong, yes, but we, ladies, are stronger. Every single time one of us breaks through, it creates a crack, a fissure, that makes it easier for the next woman to rise. So let's celebrate our victories. Let's learn from our challenges and let's continue to push forward. Whether you're in the boardroom, the classroom, or your living room, know that you have the power to make a difference. Thank you so much for again tuning in to the Hint Hive Amplifying Women's Voices. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's keep the conversation going and keep empowering each other to break those ceilings wide open. And honestly, a great place to do that is the Hint Hive podcast Facebook group. I'm trying to create a nice, safe hive over at the Hint Hive Facebook group where women can discuss any issues female related that they need help with, validation from, like whatever it is. I want to create that hive where it's safe to talk about whatever we need to talk about, and it's empowering, and we can empower each other. We can share information. You can ask me questions. So please, right in the episode description is a link to join the Hint Hive Facebook group. So please click that button and head on over. Let's start to get some conversations going in there. It's been a slow go, and I understand that I am probably a big part of that because I hate to admit this, but I really kind of despise social media. But I love connecting with people on social media, people that like, I'm not talking like friends and family. I'm talking about people that I can't see in my everyday life. I love connecting with you online. So please head over to the Facebook group and join. And maybe be a trailblazer yourself and start up a conversation. Ask a question in the group. Put something out there. Get people chatting because I don't want it to be an echo chamber of just me saying things. So again, ladies, you are awesome. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fabulous, and always remember that your voice matters. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and the Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out thecrankycounselor.com.